Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing-related tweets, or you can subscribe to the channel and click that notifications button and get a notification whenever a new video is uploaded. Let's talk boxing. I've just uploaded a video about Deontay Wilder and his potential rumoured fight against Charles Martin. Check that out. Now I want to talk about another heavyweight, though. Let's talk about Joe Joyce. Now, Joe Joyce has been on the lips of a lot of people of late. Proverbially speaking, of course. Carl Froch has come out and said, I've got to say Joe Joyce is the next big threat at world level. I've seen him spar in hundreds of rounds at the England squad when I was there for the last 4 or 5 years in my career. And I've seen him in there with AJ. He doesn't look capable when he shapes up and lets his shots go, but he's more than capable when he steps in the ring with anyone. We saw that against Daniel Dubois when everyone was picking Dubois to win. It wasn't really close, was it? He busted him up with the jab. I know he's 35 years old, but he's fit and strong and full of self-belief. And in the past, this is a recent interview, but in the past he's also said, I've seen him sparring Anthony Joshua, and AJ did not like sparring Joe Joyce. Now in that same interview, he also says that he's a live underdog against Dubois, but that Dubois has to be the favourite. So clearly, Froch had seen enough to suggest that Joe Joyce is a problem for anyone. But if you'd seen him beating up Anthony Joshua in sparring, it's one thing to say he didn't like sparring. If you'd seen him beating him up, you're not going to be saying Dubois is the favourite. You're going to be saying, listen, I think you're going to see an upset here. But he also does say in that more recent interview, when he shapes up, he doesn't really look like all that much. But he is when he's actually having fights. So this is a guy that's a lot more effective than he first appears. And Carl Froch seems to have come around to that idea now and sees him as a major threat to the heavyweight division. Now, Nathan Gorman, who is, of course, the British heavyweight prospect who has lost to Daniel Dubois. That was considered a 50-50 fight, by the way. And whoever came through that would be this, the guy to really push on. This is how people used to talk about it. Would push on and perhaps be a future star at this world stage. Dubois came through that in stunning fashion, and now Gorman's trying to rebuild his career, and he's done all right, and there's no reason why he can't come back and have a good career. But he has obviously, he's a cousin of Tyson Fury. He's sparred with Tyson Fury. He's sparred with Hughie Fury. He's also worked, of course, with Joe Joyce, and he picks Joe Joyce to beat Alexander Usyk. He feels he would beat him. Now, you can find the Alexander Usyk fight between him and Joe Joyce, the amateur fight, on YouTube. You can watch that fight. You can see how that went. You could see at times what looked like a masterclass from Alexander Usyk. However, I have to say this, and I'm not saying I wouldn't pick Usyk to win. If I was in a position where I had to pick, I'd go for Usyk. But just because he beat him in the amateurs over 5 rounds, over a 12-round fight a number of years later is a different proposition. You have to understand that Alexander Usyk's potential skill set, his style, is very reliant. If it was an asset, let's put it this way, if it was an asset, it would be a depreciating asset, an asset that loses its value, because he's very reliant on foot speed and movement. And these are things that depreciate with age. So he's 33 years old now. So naturally, if he was to take his own sprint times, he probably doesn't run as fast now as he did when he was 24, 25. All right, so 26, 27 even. He's on the wrong side of 30. So these things start to have an effect. Now, have we seen enough to suggest any form of decline? No. However, I don't think he moves as well at heavyweight as he does at cruiserweight. In many ways, he should move. His movement should look even more pronounced against bigger, slower, cumbersome guys. But he's also carrying more weight. Now, Joe Joyce, if you go and look at that amateur fight, you'll be surprised to show how fast he moves. Go and watch the Hrgovic amateur fight too. Last night I couldn't sleep. It was like 5:40 a.m. and I was sitting there watching the amateur fight between Hrgovic and Joe Joyce, as you do when you can't sleep in the early hours. So, you'll be surprised by the movement and speed of Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is also a bigger man, so perhaps his feet might have slowed a little bit too. But again, with neither guy have we seen it majorly. They've both moved very, very well in terms of their foot speed in their recent fights. But what you will see in that amateur fight is that Usyk, just like Hrgovic, are working very, very hard. And Joyce sets a tempo. Would he set a tempo where you're unable to move like that and work so hard to keep him off for 12 rounds? Because if you tire and your back's up against the ropes and you're not moving around effectively, the last thing you want is the juggernaut to be walking you down, with that solid jab and then getting you up on the ropes and start throwing those hooks. So Joe Joyce is a serious problem for anyone. The question is, do you see him as the biggest threat at world level at the moment to the kings of the division? If not, who do you see to be the big threat? I'm not asking about the established fighters per se. You know, so if you think it's any of the big names, you know, I don't want to hear Deontay Wilder doesn't have a belt now, or Dillian Whyte at the moment doesn't have a belt, but I think he'll beat Povetkin and then it'll be him. We know the big names, you know. We're talking about the guys that have yet to really have a shot, but are operating at that world level. Guys that have, you know, guys that are there in your opinion, but maybe haven't proved it that they're there. Who do you think's the next big threat at world level who's yet to prove it? Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Chat to you soon. Take care and God bless.